Well, hello again, and welcome again to another episode of Down to Earth but Heavenly Minded. I'm your host, Risch, and you're listening to the Internet Radio. And today we're going to continue on in our study in Matthew. And the title of this episode is Words from the Cross. Jesus' words from the cross. With that said, let us go.
The Gospel of Matthew, Jesus' Words from the Cross, by Daniel C. Snaddon. The Lord Jesus uttered 7 phrases from the cross. The middle phrase was the shuddering cry of desolation and devastation, spoken in a loud voice, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? See Matthew 22 verse 46 and Mark 15 verse 34, it is significant what precedes and follows this cry. The first phrase Jesus uttered was, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. Luke 23 verse 34, Jesus' final statement, spoken again in a loud voice was, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Luke 23 verse 46, between these two cries there is Emmanuel crying out, once again loudly, to his Father, my God, my God. The Apostle John is actually the only author of the Gospels who mentions Jesus adding here, it is finished. John 19 verse 30. We should also note the 2 instances where the Lord was offered a drink while on the cross. The Lord said, I thirst. Now a vessel full of sour wine was sitting there, and they filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on hyssop, and put it to his mouth. John 19 verses 28 to 29, then Jesus is offered vinegar to drink mixed with gall, but after tasting it, he refused to drink it. Matthew 27 verse 34, it has been suggested that this combination of vinegar and gall could have been somewhat of a pain reliever, a stupefying potion, or an opiate that would ease the physical suffering of Jesus. Yet Jesus refused to drink the mixture. In this scene on Calvary we should also note Jesus' evident loneliness on the cross, because Jesus appeared quite alone during this experience. For example, Matthew 27 verses 27 to 40 tells of how the soldiers mocked him and the people ridiculed him. In Matthew 27 verses 41 to 44, the scribes taunted him, and the thieves despised him. Previously, Jesus had pointed out his critics, saying, The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Behold a man gluttonous, and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. Matthew 11 verse 19, he was declared a blasphemer and an impostor, and yet he was a friend to all. The people, the ones he came to save, had betrayed him and crucified him. Psalm 69 presents the Lord's broken heart in his death, Reproach hath broken my heart, and I am full of heaviness, and I looked for some to take pity, but there was none, and for comforters, but I found none, they hated me without a cause. Let us also note what others said of the Messiah's innocence. In Luke 8 verse 25, Jesus' audience marveled at him and asked one another, What manner of man is this? Judas said, I have betrayed innocent blood. Matthew 27 verse 4, even Pontius Pilate's wife exhorted her husband, Have nothing to do with that just man, and then Pilate later claimed, I find no fault in him, and washed his hands of the matter to declare his own innocence. See Matthew 27 verse 19 and John 18 verse 38, on the cross, the dying thief proclaimed, He has done nothing amiss, and the centurion witnessing Jesus' death declared, Truly, this was the Son of God. Luke 23 verse 41 and Matthew 27 verse 54, So when Jesus cried out, Why hast thou forsaken me? This was the first and only time this question was ever asked. At this point an eternal unbroken communion was broken. This communion between the Son and the Father is unfathomable and unexplainable to us. We should also ask ourselves when the cry was made. Was it during the hours of darkness? Matthew 27 verse 46 identifies the time as the 9th hour, at nighttime, when Jesus cried out. For this reason, some scholars believe that the word hast could be replaced with the word didst, thou forsake me," signifying that Jesus had already been forsaken as a past event. Indeed, it was no new experience for the Lord to be forsaken. Several times the religious leaders had tried to kill him. His brothers, his nation, and many followers did not walk along with him. Judas betrayed him, Peter denied him, and the disciples forsook him. Up until this time, although men had continually forsaken him, he had always been able to turn to his Father for help. However, this refuge was denied on the cross. His Father had forsaken him, for God is a holy and uncompromising God, demanding the full price for the redemption of mankind. The Lord Jesus was left alone, abandoned, and ultimately forsaken, all for our sakes.
The end.